Hey, good morning, my friends. It's Monday. I thought we'd spend some time together just hanging out. Coffee. Coffee is life. Interesting coffee story, and I figured I'd start by telling you this. We were given I normally don't do flavored coffee, but it looked really good by a friend of ours. She brought some coffee beans, and I've got a little espresso machine, but I don't have an independent bean grinder. So I was like, well, I'd like to try this coffee that was gifted to us. And Natalie reminded me that her great-great-grandfather he'd constructed from a kit or had restored an old school manual coffee grinder, and that she had it in storage. I brought it up here to show you. Old school coffee grinder. I was fascinated. First of all, it's heavier, you can imagine. I mean, that's hyperbole, but you get it. It's heavy. That's what I'm trying to say. And so you pop the top. Let's see if I can show it to you. Pop the top open. Your coffee beans go in here. And it's difficult to see, but there's like a gear inside a small opening. And you determine the coarseness of the grounds with this little knob. You spin it up, and you get a coarser grind, and you spin it down, and I guess it moves the drill, for lack of a better word, the grinder. It moves it down closer to the mechanism, and it makes a much finer grind. And then whenever you're done, the coffee grounds come out in this little drawer. Is that cool? I don't know what year he restored it or crafted it or whatever. Her great-grandfather. I mean, hell, what is that, early to mid-20th century? And it still works. So I pull this thing out and I put the coffee grinds in. And I'll tell you, on fine grind, it'll take you flat out half an hour. You just doing this. Half an hour until finally you have coffee. You got to really want your coffee grounds. Pop it out in the filter. I love the story behind this, passed down through the family. I don't normally do antiques. I'm not a sentimental guy. I don't keep stuff, really. But, this is cool. This is really a fun little story to tell, and it was fun to be in the kitchen, knowing that this thing had been passed down over the decades and it was still grinding coffee in the year 2020. Isn't that cool? I was introduced to coffee by a realtor for a home I bought back in the 1990s. It wasn't a coffee drinker, and he introduced me to cappuccino or something. I don't know. And after that, I was hooked forever. Of course, my coffee's like candy. It's got French vanilla creamer and Splenda. So, it's like candy. Let me put the phone number on the screen in case there's somebody who would like to call on the switchboard. Don't know what's on your mind, if there's anything that you'd like to bring to the table, but I'll make that option available because, you never know. I was looking at the Chris Wallace interview on Fox News with President Trump. I'm not going to talk too much politics, but they mentioned this test, this cognitive test that Donald Trump had aced. Doctors were amazed that I did so well on this test. Now, you're probably a step ahead of me, but I actually have a screenshot of the test. We looked it up. Let me show you this. It's called the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, the MOCA or MOCA. And this is apparently something that physicians use to determine whether or not they need to go further into cognitive testing. Does someone have dementia, perhaps Alzheimer's or something? So this is the actual test that Trump was boasting about. The first question essentially has you begin this pattern, 1A, 2B, right? 3C. Then you're supposed to draw a clock with the time 10 past 11. So you draw a circle and you draw the time. All right, 11:10. The third question is you have to name these animals. What is that? What creature is this? There's a memory quiz. You read a list of words: face, velvet, church, daisy, rat. I'm guessing these words are interchangeable. And then you wait several minutes and try to recall them. You have to count backwards from 100 in 7. So 100, 93, 86, etc. You're also, I believe, at the end of the test here, you're supposed to just prove that you know when and where you are. What's the date? What month and year is it? Where are you at this moment? This is the Montreal Cognitive Assessment Test. Now, what's interesting to me isn't that he took the test. Maybe it's part of some sort of a screening process that physicians simply use to determine if further cognitive testing is required. The guy's 74. What's interesting is that he's boasting about how well he did. Look it up, Montreal Cognitive Assessment. Take the test and tell me how you score. I've been amused by I don't know how much stuff on the internet. Here's something I wanted to show you. This is posted by someone named Sean. I'm just going to play this without further comment.
I'm Goofy Goober! You're Goofy Goober! We're all Goofy Goobers! Goofy, Goofy, Goober, Goober! Put your toys away. Well, all I gotta say when you tell me not to play, I say no way. No way. I'm a kid, you say. When you say I'm a kid, I say it again. And then I say that. So if you're thinking that you'd like to be like me, go ahead and try. A kid inside will set you.
I'm just going to let it play, I
I'm a
guess.
Goofy Goober! You're a Goofy Goober! We're all Goofy Goober!
That's why I use the internet these days. Like, you don't even need to post with a comment. You just post it. You can find it on my Facebook page. Just scroll the wall. I bookmarked a few other things that amused me. Oh, I don't even know what this is. But check this out. Somebody put arms on wild animals.
Sun is shining in the sky. There ain't no cloud in sight. It's something from the skies and the place from the south. It's a beautiful day. Rolling down the avenue. See how
I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't even know what I just looked at. Here's another one that made me laugh. Now, I'm amazed and amused at how creative people have gotten with the COVID masks, and I'm a big mask guy. I, yes, have come to the point where I see people in public spaces, indoors especially, without masks, and I call them mask holes. Right? It's just a courtesy at this measure. Well, if they're wearing a mask, well, that's all I'm really concerned. I don't have to wear a mask. My liberties and freedoms, and it's all a big conspiracy, and science doesn't know what it's talking about. And part of me just thinks this is just common courtesy. That this is a minimum that we can do to help in whatever way to protect our fellow human beings. People lose their minds. And I'm just like, you know what? You go into a freaking Costco. I was in Costco the other day. I had to make a grocery store run. I'm judging people for not wearing masks. I saw tons of people wearing them correctly, but I also saw quite a few people who had it down under the nose. Hello, this does nothing. You're breathing out of your nose. And you just have the mouth covered. And there's one guy, he had a mask on, but it was around his neck. I saw yet another guy. He had what looked like a fabric I don't know, it wasn't a ski mask, but it was some sort of a cloth apparatus that was so porous that it wouldn't stop most of anything that was coming out of his mouth. It was almost like it was crocheted. You see this stuff and you fear for the species. This is common. Common sense is not common. You look around at the world and you just say we're screwed. But people have gotten so creative. I've seen Darth Vader masks and I've seen smile masks where it's a small smile. Whenever you pull the mask up, it becomes a toothy smile. This one just made me laugh. This is especially for fans of the old school 80s film Goonies. I just thought that was hysterical. And there's a bunch of those. Have you seen the one with Schwarzenegger? Hang on just a second. Let me see. It's a Total Recall mask. Total Recall COVID mask. Let's see if I can find the image here. No, it's funnier with the family. Hang on. I'm going to find this. Arnold Schwartz, Schwarzenegger, COVID mask. Oh, crap. Total Recall face mask. Well, let me just pull it up. I'll just pull up. There's a family photo of them wearing it, and it's freaking hysterical. Here it is on some kind of a sales page, but you can see it's when they had him strapped into the chair. They were putting whatever that device was around his temples, and he was screaming. You gotta look. Yeah, there's a meme of it somewhere where you can see a whole family of people, and they're all like wearing this mask, and it's hysterical. Where's it? Here's another one I found amusing. This is a ramen noodle face mask. So the guy's wearing a bowl of ramen noodles. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to put... I think this is a whole new culture shift. People will now... This is the T-shirt of the 21st century. Like, T-shirts have always been a thing with messaging, and they're funny, and they make you think, and they make you laugh, and they get your attention. Face masks can certainly be the same thing. Why are people resisting? Look, you walk around with the ramen noodle mask. God, that's hysterical. Post a great mask in the comments section if you know of one. Anyway, let's see. What else? That's a story I'm going to share in just a little bit. I think there was something else that I thought was interesting I was going to show you. I'll come back to it. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. I've been hand grinding coffee, and I've been laughing at memes and mask photographs. I think you have to do a lot of this sort of superfluous stuff to deal with I don't know if it's an algorithm thing, because I'm an activist and because I'm always sharing activism-related, atheism, religion-related, politically related, world news-related stories that's maybe the social media sites, Facebook and Twitter, see those in terms of trends, and so they then skew my timeline so that it's populated more with that type of stuff. Well, that's a vicious cycle, because now I'm seeing more and more and more of the riots and the chaos and the police brutality and people smashing each other to ribbons and the lies and the corruption. And so, I click those stories, and then what does the algorithm change again and reinforce that even more? And so I see more of it, and then you begin to lose hope in the world. Does anyone else notice that? It's hard. I mean, it almost makes me want to click on like just bubblegum for the brain stuff, just so that whatever is reading my habits will perhaps start to send me more funny stuff, more life stuff, more love stuff. more stuff that fills the heart instead of putting it, clutching a hand around it and squeezing the life right out of it. Oh my God. And some of it may be my own fault because, again, I have an activist nature and I feel like I'm always engaging. I'm always sharing. I'm always interested, or usually interested in, what's going on in the world. And if it makes the news, it's probably not going to be good. I don't know. It's an odd generation where we are sort of being read. Our behaviors and actions are being read in this way, and then the stream that comes to us reinforces that. Speaking of being read, has anyone else noticed this one? Natalie and I are in the bedroom. We're sitting up. We're just talking, right? We weren't browsing on our phones. We were just chatting. We had our phones in the room. We were talking about furniture. I think it was furniture. I don't know. We've got a little table that we need for the front entrance part of the house near the door. There's this blank spot. We've been kind of thinking, well, we need like a little table there. So we're just chatting. What do you think, a wooden table? Would you get it at Wayfair? I mean, where do you think you'd get it? That's interesting. We chit-chat. Then we pick up our phones and start scrolling. And I shit you not, ads for tables appeared immediately on my Facebook feed. Whoa. Right? Hello? My phone listening to me? Am I being surveilled? I'm not a conspiracy guy, but holy shit. I wasn't scrolling. I wasn't Google searching tables. I didn't speak into the voice to text thing. I didn't ask Alexa about tables. All of a sudden, table ads appeared. That freaks me out. They listening? Tables. Oh, I've got a text I have to respond to. Hang on. It's just a freaky thing. I'm just wondering if anybody else has gone through that. I see somebody on the switchboard. 404, hi. Who's this? Hello. 404, who's this? I don't think it's my system. 404, who's this? $423. Hi, who's this?
Hello?
Hi, who's this?
This is Eddie.
Eddie, I don't have much of an agenda. What's on your agenda? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I can never unsee Patrick Star pole dancing, so thanks for that, you bastard.
That's what I do. I implant things into your memory that will never go away. And because people have done it to me. So you are welcome. What else is happening?
I'm sending the therapy bills to you.
What else is going on?
Oh, nothing. I just called to call you a bastard because YouTube wouldn't let me.
Oh, take a number.
But if you... Oh, well, at least I'm calling you a bastard for the right reasons.
Yeah, I received that in love as a brother.
But I guess since I'm on here, if you really want cotton candy for the brain, track down one of the Katamari Damacy games. They're really relaxing if you're into that kind of weird Japanese puzzle game thing.
I'm sorry, Katamari. Oh,
Damacy.
There it is. It's a game?
You roll everything into a ball. It's fucking weird, man, but it's relaxing as all hell.
I'll look it up and take a look right now. Thanks for calling, brother.
Yep.
See you later.
Still sending you my therapy bills.
All right. Appreciate you. See you soon. Katamari Damacy. Okay. Oh, wait,
Live
I
TV
gotta
from
wait for
85
the
plus
ad. Hang
channels
on just a
with
second.
local sports and news. YouTube TV. Try it free.
No, I'm not going to try YouTube TV.
If you shop on Amazon, you should use Wikibuy.
Jesus
It's a browser
Christ.
extension that automatically...
Skip ad. How old is this game? The hell? What? Oh, everything I roll over is sticks. All right. This reminds me of something here. Hang on just a second. I gotta see if I can find this. Speaking of weird video games. Yeah, Japan World Cup. Japan World Cup. Where's the one with commentary?
Finishes first. This is a race to see who does the
Check
most
this
insane
out.
things.
Yeah, and then he just here.
This is it seems like a very wonderful game.
I have told Matt nothing about this. It's just like I wanted to get somebody on this. The horse is walking sideways there.
What the fuck is with the horse?
This is some weird horse racing game I found, and it starts off weird. Like, I've sped up the opening because it drags on quite a while, but this game is borderline insane. There's a guy running Yeti, and the name just wipes out.
I'm now like picturing like a bunch of horses racing.
What
and
the
one
hell are
racing
we
on
looking at,
hind legs,
right?
Like, yeah,
It
what's
gets
up?
weirder. It gets a lot weirder. It's starting here. So this, like, the guy puts his finger on his horse, and then this is when shit just starts to get weird. Like, the two women on that white horse are whipping each other, and the horse is getting longer.
What the fuck?
There's a guy riding a Yeti. This game makes no sense, but this is where it gets weird. Look
Trojan
at what
horse
is
thing
that
working?
white horse doing? And then it just launches off in the reason, and that horse is now running. Wait, it's like
No, there's more. We'll
different
stick with this for
horses,
just a few.
man,
Hang on.
There's so many different ways. I just kept watching this over and over again because it's like a DVD horse betting game kind of thing. But it's the crazy thing. Like, that guy's dancing on top of the Trojan horse right now. But like you can get loads of different outcomes. That always happens. Him putting the thing on the horse. But what happens after that never makes any sense.
Never made. Yeah, because Japan, right?
It's Japan. But
Where the hell
I can't
did
even
you
remember what
find
happened.
this?
I just saw YouTube videos like the Yeti jumps on the Trojan. He starts beating.
I'm just like picturing the rider be like, "Yeah, bitch, jump on there, steal that horse."
Thanks, Japan. Oh, come on. There's one more. There's one more thing out of Japan that freaked me out. Hang on. I don't even know what this is. This is a Japanese Donald Trump commercial. Ready? Check this out. What the hell is this? it's crazy. What is that? And it's amazing how much detail is in it. I mean, wow. We need more of that. Just whatever that is. Just weird shit on the internet to distract us from the awfulness. 806, hi. Who's this?
It's Shy.
Hey, it's good to talk to you, Shy. What's
One
going
quick sec, so you're not hearing yourself. I just about the phone ad thing.
Oh,
My husband, who is, by the way, a Native American man, has lately been getting ads for the census in Japanese.
all right, hang on, just hold on. Hang on just a second. He's getting ads for the United States Census, and he's getting those ads in Japanese?
Yes, but he's Native American. And he's actually happy because up until recently he was getting Spanish ads.
Now, what's that about? Is there an algorithm that's broken somewhere? Did he get on the wrong list? What's going on?
YouTube had him flagged as like a single dad who only spoke Spanish. So he was getting a lot of ads for like alcohol and Pampers. I was getting Pampers ads.
I don't understand.
But
all I know is we're being watched. Do you ever feel that way? You feel like you're being watched up there?
I'm used to it. But even on a better note, we went down to towards the coast in Texas to visit family because my doctor thought it would help my mental state to get away from the region for a little bit. Because we're right next to a red zone. That's fun.
Describe red zone for me.
COVID red zone.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah.
One of our neighbors is like a hot spot for it.
All right.
So we don't go there anymore. Like as soon as it started, we were like, okay, we're never going here ever again.
Well, I mean, the churches aren't helping either. They're starting to reopen the churches. I'm seeing parking lots fill up, and I just there's this, I don't know, this narrative out there that if we don't have open churches, people aren't going to be able to follow Jesus correctly, and I don't really understand that logic. So.
The way people have been acting down here, I had to get away for a little bit because I work at a convenience store, and we put in a sign recently that was like, hey, wear a mask. And I didn't even tell a guy who wasn't wearing a mask to wear one because we're told not to enforce it. I still got threatened.
Oh, they threatened you?
Yes.
Now, this is where we are.
Dude, it's 3 a.m. I don't care. Let me just make the coffee in peace.
That's an odd sort of scenario. You are actually hoping somebody shows up at a convenience store at 3 a.m. wearing a mask. I mean, that's kind of a reversal of where you might have been this time last year, right? So.
Yeah, in the middle of the night.
I don't know. I just think that's.
But when we went down to the coast, we were hanging out with my husband's family, his brother and their cousin. And we were going through and looking at stuff. Yeah, they're in the safe zone, thankfully. But we were going through stuff like on Netflix, and we learned that. And by the way, my husband's cousin didn't grow up in a church situation. He didn't grow up that kind of sheltered, but he had never seen Indiana Jones.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a random call here. Now, he'd never seen Indiana Jones?
Yes, he had never seen any of the Indiana Jones movies.
Well, there are only 3 because the last one doesn't count.
He had never seen Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
it doesn't count.
Has he been freeze-dried or something? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, he wasn't like, because one of my cousin has an excuse because my aunt wouldn't let him watch Harry Potter because of witchcraft.
Oh, I see.
And wouldn't let him watch other movies because of magic or whatever. But this kid had just never seen those movies.
Yeah. Well, if they ever decide to jump in, 1, 2, and 3 exist. The 4th Indiana Jones, we've wiped it from memory. It is that we don't speak of.
That's what we told him.
Okay.
And we immediately started watching, Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom's good. The aliens with the crystal skull and the CGI monkeys.
That's not an Indiana Jones movie.
It's no. It's an abomination. We shall not speak of this anymore. So you be safe out there. Thanks for calling the show, okay?
I've been trying.
All right.
I've been trying. This has been better for me.
Hang in there, my friend.
Have a good one.
See you later. Is there more of a delay on the call, or am I just being that rude? I don't mean to be. I hear a pause and I jump in. Indiana Jones 4. And George Lucas, who was once a revolutionary filmmaker, he just totally lost the plot. Indiana Jones 4. By the way, there's a documentary you should check out. It's called The People versus George Lucas, and it gets into his early days, and then it gets into the original Star Wars films, episodes 4, 5, 6. And then it gets into sort of this transformation of George Lucas from avant-garde filmmaker to corporate behemoth, and how he became insulated from the collaborative process and creative input and certainly criticism, and once left completely to his own devices as his sort of culture began to change, his own mindset began to change. You saw reflected a guy who was making these sort of unilateral decisions that were not great ones creatively, which explains the prequel films. He just went into a room and wrote the prequels, and no one was brave enough to say, hey, this is a steamy pile of shit. And, he wrote, or at least co-wrote, Indiana Jones 4. I'm sorry, what? I mean, when he was writing the scene with the flying monkeys, swinging from the vines, jumping all over as they do the CGI car chase through the CGI forest, and they go over the waterfall and land on a tree branch, and everybody lands without a scratch after falling 300 feet into the roiling. And then there are aliens. They're not extraterrestrial beings. George Lucas defends it by saying that they're interdimensional beings. Somebody should have just taken this man and put him in timeout. You need to go think about this. The People versus George Lucas. It's a great documentary, and it talks about the fan base becoming more and more disillusioned with George Lucas as he becomes more and more detached from them and from creative input. And then comes the question about the original, before the special edition Star Wars films. The narrative out of George Lucas's camp is that the originals were destroyed, and now only the special editions remain, which makes no sense, because if they were scanned and prepared for digital alteration, that means they had to have a source file, a digitized source file to work with. So I'm convinced that there remains right now, today, somewhere on hard drives somewhere, a pristine copy of the original trilogy of Star Wars. If the Lucasfilm camp deleted their source files, I think that would be a tragedy. But we get into the question of, when does something become part of the public domain? In other words, does George Lucas have the right to go and completely ruin what was so successful in the first place and what the public admired in the first place? Or do we come to a point culturally where we, as the audience, have some kind of ownership as to how much damage he can do to the films we loved? And the documentary, The People versus George Lucas, gets into this. And it interviews all these Star Wars fans and kind of their take, and they go through the sort of devolution of George Lucas. You should check it out. It used to be on Netflix, but if it cost you $5 on Amazon, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. 618. Hi, thanks for waiting. Who's this?
Hi, Seth. This is Susie Wolf.
Hi, Susie. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
Well, two things, actually. There was something I heard about this morning, and this is going to be kind of random, but so am I. Anyway, I heard about something called proportionality bias that actually made people believing creationism make more sense.
Proportionality bias.
I was wondering if you're familiar.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Can you explain it?
It's a tendency for people in general that the bigger and more impactful something is, the bigger and more impactful the reason for it has to be. And it's actually the source of a lot of conspiracy theories. And I thought to myself, wait, what's more impactful than the creation of the universe?
It sounds like a little bit of a play on the argument from popularity. The more people who believe it, the more true it must be. What do you think?
It's similar to that argument, yeah. But from a lot of people's perspective, I can see how some uber powerful ultimate being saying, let there be light, is more impressive than billions of years of natural processes.
Is some of it, too, that people love a story, like, this magical story that there was a divine king, and he breathed into existence the cosmos, and I am a direct result of his divine will? I mean, that sounds like a romantic and wonderful movie that people would like to live in. So,
right. Or all of existence is just his dream or whatever.
And then
creation myth here.
If you get into, the science of, well, there was a singularity and it happened here and you're just random, and when you die, there's no evidence that you live on, and those types of things, they just sort of want to blink that out. Why embrace that when the story of being the end product of a divine king adopted by this cosmic wizard to live forever sounds so much more attractive? Yeah, I get that.
Right.
I get that. What was it called again? I may look it up.
Proportionality bias.
I'm going to do a quick Google, but I appreciate you and your call. Thanks for calling.
Oh, not a problem. Also, I just wanted to personally thank you ever so much for being a fellow advocate for sanity as this world slowly gets more and more insane.
Hey, we're all in this together, right? You and me and the audience. We're all just going to do our best to try to survive, and maybe the best ideas will eventually win. Okay?
Very, very true.
All right. You take care. Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Seth. Take care.
First thing that
Bye-bye.
came up was an article from Scientific American. Why do some people believe in conspiracy theories? I'm going to read this cold. I normally like to prep a little bit, but I'll just start. Christopher French, a professor in psychology at Goldsmiths, University of London, explains, although conspiracy beliefs can occasionally be based on a rational analysis of the evidence, most of the time they are not. Let me enlarge this so you can read it better. As a species, one of our greatest strengths is our ability to find meaningful patterns in the world around us and to make casual inferences. We sometimes, however, see patterns and causal connections that are not there, especially when we feel that events are beyond our control. Now, for those who aren't familiar with this, many people call it patternicity. And there are a lot of reasons why we become pattern seekers. Much of it has been sort of embedded into us as a matter of survival. The attractiveness of conspiracy theories may arise from a number of cognitive biases that characterize the way we process information. Confirmation bias is the most pervasive cognitive bias and a powerful driver of belief in conspiracies. We all have a natural inclination to give more weight to evidence that supports what we already believe and ignore the evidence that contradicts our beliefs. The real-world events that often become the subject of conspiracy theories tend to be intrinsically complex and unclear. Early reports may contain errors, contradictions, and ambiguities, and those wishing to find evidence of a cover-up will focus on such inconsistencies to bolster their claims. One more paragraph. Proportionality bias, our innate tendency to assume that big events have big causes, may also explain our tendency to accept conspiracies. This is one reason many people were uncomfortable with the idea that President John F. Kennedy was the victim of a deranged lone gunman, and found it easier to accept the theory that he was the victim of a large-scale conspiracy. People, I think, are attracted by conspiracy thinking. We hear a lot of this. Hell, we see it everywhere. And the problem is that occasionally conspiracies have existed. Sometimes there are literal conspiracies that have taken place. This makes the search for truth even harder. But Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. I mean, I get why people embrace that. I have some suspicions, but I still hold to the, he was apparently talking with his lawyers about preparing his estate before he committed suicide. It sounds like the prison where he was held was just a shithole anyway. I mean, there are enough credible pieces to the puzzle. His life was over. There's no way he was getting out of prison. He was going to have to go face, I don't know how many accusers and go through the court system. His life was over. So it's possible this malignant narcissist, sociopath, predator, rapist person, pedophile, realized this is it, and he just decided, I'm going to off myself. But I understand, the cameras aren't working. How many people had so much to lose? There are tapes of powerful people, potential tapes out there still of powerful people having sex with children. Oh my God, can you imagine if and when that information became public, which is why now that his assistant and co-conspirator to rape children has been arrested, the rest of us are watching to find out what happens next. I'm hoping she sings like a bird, right? She realizes she's on the bubble. Like, this is it. So you can now mitigate how bad your punishment is going to be, perhaps a little bit. I'm hoping she spends the rest of her life in prison. And I think that stands to reason that she should. But perhaps there are some sort of bargaining tools that the authorities at the court systems can put into place to encourage her to name names and to show them where the tapes are. And so now we're talking about how long she's going to survive. Like, when's she going to commit suicide? It's such a messy, it's like the fog of war. Sometimes there's so many details and there's so many gray areas, so much we don't know, we don't understand, so much that has happened, that can happen, that might happen. That conspiracy theories, I understand them. And again, sometimes conspiracy theories bear out. But when you look at the damaging and obviously nonsense conspiracy theories out there, the 5G cell towers and Bill Gates and the QAnon one world satanic cabal that is trying to take over the world via a Democratic Party that's a one giant pedophile ring and, that kind of crazy stuff. The world is flat and NASA is lying to us and world governments are all lying to us. Vaccines cause autism and it's all a big cover-up to try to poison our children with vaccine. You realize the damage that conspiracy thinking does. I think my biggest gripe is that quite often people are only content with the theory. Why not chase that theory down? Why are we not going step by step methodically through the evidence that we do have, even circumstantial evidence to a degree, to find out, well, what do we know? What can we know? What are the facts? What are the details? What has been covered up? What does that mean? And it's a long, arduous, complicated thing. And I think for many people, it's a whole lot easier just to go with your gut and to pattern seek and to say, well, that sounds fishy to me. Got to be a conspiracy. And that becomes problematic because then we stop being creatures of evidence and we just decide, I don't know about that. We did a show years ago on conspiracy theories. We may have to do one again. What's your take on all these conspiracies? I mean, they're everywhere. It's like when the protests and the riots happened after the murder of George Floyd. I heard a lot of conspiracy theories about Antifa having pallets of bricks delivered to all the major cities. Antifa was framed as kind of this clandestine Illuminati type organization, like they have a central organization with a leader or leaders, some sort of star chamber board of leaders that were orchestrating the riots, and they sent bricks out so that people would smash their own cities. It was all an Antifa, and I hate Antifa, by the way. I'm not defending Antifa, but Antifa is not like an organization. Antifa is like an idea. People grab onto it and go out and so that conspiracy took off in conservative circles. Now, The interesting thing is there, I think, may have been instances where somebody in an Antifa model or, dressed in, the Antifa garb, claiming to be Antifa, may have done something like that. But it doesn't mean that there's this national conspiracy of an Antifa organization that's putting all of this together. Someone in the chat said, "Do you hate Antifa?" ? Understand, I'm anti-fascism. I think Antifa is not the answer. I think they have become what they despise. They are making it worse. And I'm sure the comment section is going to have a hell of a heyday with that one. Just lawless, unnecessary agitation, escalation. They're not the solution to the problem of fascism. They're not. I stand by that. 647, hi, who's this?
Hey, Seth, how are you?
I'm good. Who's this?
This is Mike from Toronto. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what's on your mind?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to share something with you that's really cool. My son, he's 14 years old, right? And he's really into his YouTube things, and he wants to start his own little YouTube channel, right? So he's telling me how he's getting it all done, and it's all going to happen really soon, right? So he comes along and says he's got his YouTube channel. He's got a couple of videos up, and I go, what's the channel about? And he goes, it's called The Teenage Atheist. Well, honestly, my heart just exploded there. I'm like you. I come from a former Christian background and pretty atheist these days. But he has a Teenage Atheist thing on YouTube. Wondering, maybe you want to promote it a bit for me.
I think you just did. Somebody searches it. Will they find it? Teenage Atheist?
Well, here's the thing. There's another Teenage Atheist on YouTube. So you have to, when you search it on YouTube, you get Teenage Atheist, and you got to scroll down quite a bit to your neck until you get to the next Teenage Atheist, so cartoonish looking character. He's only 14, so don't, it's not the most thrilling stuff, but it's good for his age, I think.
Put the link in the comment section. I'll let everybody take a peek, all right?
You're the best. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take it easy. 443, hi, who's this?
Hello.
Hello, who's this?
Hey, this is Neil. I'm calling
Neil.
from Annapolis.
What's going on, my friend?
How's it going? Not much. Wow, I can't believe I actually got through.
I'm glad you're here. What's on your mind?
First things first. When I first heard your podcast, I don't know, 7 years ago, I thought you had to be a plant. There's no way someone with a voice that good could actually be an honest person.
Oh, stop. Well, you're very kind, and thanks for the compliment. No, I'm real. I'm
absolutely serious.
I'm here. It's all good. It's all good. This is not a conspiracy to deceive the audience with, I'm not the CGI creation. I'm here. So what are you thinking today?
I'm stuck in. Actually, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I try to be really quick. All right. I'm from Jamaica. I grew up with pretty liberal parents. They used to always make me go to church, but when I'd sneak out, they would actually laugh because they're like, oh, this little heathen, no big deal. But in the 80s, Geraldo Rivera, you might remember his nonsense about eating babies and so forth. I used to listen to rock and roll. I had Motley Crue, Rat, all those people posters on my walls and so forth. And after my dad watched that, he went into my room and massacred the place. I don't think I've ever been that angry my whole life.
What did he do? Did he take all the stuff he rendered or assumed to be satanic and he tossed it?
He ripped every poster off my wall. I could see his fingerprints, like where they dragged along the wall where he ripped all my stuff up. And back then I was listening to Motley Crue. So in the end, all he did was introduce me to groups like Danzig and King Diamond and Slayer, which, just allowed me to take it up a little bit higher.
Yeah, for people who believe that that the devil has no power against Yahweh and Jesus, they sure freak out pretty easy about the devil, don't they?
Absolutely. It was the craziest thing because, in all honesty, we didn't really grow up that way. And being from Jamaica, Jamaica's a very religious country. So I thought, they would be angry at me for, just not going to church. But it's funny how somebody with quote unquote influence can go through and just destroy somebody's, a part of my childhood. It was a part of me growing up.
I talked to somebody, they had some like first run Star Wars toys, and their parents became convinced that Star Wars was satanic, and they went and tossed all of his first run, first edition Star Wars figurines that would probably be worth in the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars today. You know what I'm saying? Just hurts the heart.
Jeez, yeah, that is awesome. Terrible. And I think people who believe in conspiracy, Seth, are just people who are afraid to look at the truth. They have no power over the truth, but they can always create something in their mind that allows them to feel better about their own strength and their own ability to control their environment.
I agree with that.
You're living in a world of chaos.
I think there's, I don't know, a comfort and assuredness that comes with, well, I'm sorry you believe what the government tells you, or I'm sorry you believe the party line, while the rest of us have, and again, I'm not saying the government never lies to people. I'm not saying that clandestine things don't happen, but when you're satisfied with just making that proclamation without actually getting into it or accepting or receiving the evidence, there's a Netflix documentary called Beyond the Curve about the flat earthers. And the flat earthers are that way. Well, I'm sorry you accept the party line that we live on a round or a spherical earth. And so they go out and they conduct all these experiments that are supposed to prove a flat earth, and the experiments fail. But instead of accepting the result of the test, they continue to alter the test. I think that's a big problem with conspiracy theory.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
They try their best to find. No, that's it. I just want to say you have the best voice on YouTube, radio, podcasting. Keep up the awesome work you do.
You're
I
very
really
kind.
don't have really more horrible stories than the one I mentioned. I see that a lot of people have gone through trauma, and I'm glad that you can do things to help people and, bring to light some of the wrongs that are going on.
We're all in this together. You take care down there, all right?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, see you later. Talking a little bit about the wrongs, I wanted to come back to this story. I'll probably finish with it for you on the switchboard. It'll be a shorter stream. I'm going to do a recording session shortly with someone who has a kind of an insider view of the Christian music industry. Oh, this resonates with me as a former Christian radio host. So we're going to do a recording session with hers. With hers. And so we're going to talk about that. So if you're on the switchboard, my apologies. That's probably going to be it. But I wanted to share a story with you because I had an observation. I was feeling, thoughtful today. The first part of the story is just a little difficult. So stick with me, okay? This was posted a few days ago, and I shared it. This was posted by the Oklahoma Alliance for Animals. This happened less than an hour from my house. The people who ran a puppy mill have been arrested. The Sequoia County Sheriff's Office, with the assistance of the Tulsa SPCA, rescued 84 dogs from horrible living conditions. They've spent their lives in cages, living in their own filth, used only to breed and make quick cash. Malnourished, emaciated, matted, they have little to no teeth, soaked and caked in urine and feces. They've never touched grass. The majority lived on cage bars, no solid surface beneath their feet. The victims are safe. We don't know if they'll all make it. Some are in extremely critical condition. This was posted 3 days ago. Here is the place that they were housed. These are the cages that they were in. Again, no floors to the cages. There's one of the dogs that is so incredibly matted you can't hardly tell it's a dog. This is where two dogs lived. They kept them in a plastic storage container, living in their own feces. And the Oklahoma Alliance for Animals came in, and they began to rescue these dogs. So I became aware of this story, and as someone who has rescued dogs and has kind of a thing for dogs, I was again marked and struck by this story, and I'm interested in the happy ending, or happier ending that's coming. Here's one of the dogs after a little bit of care and love. And you can see that there's some matting of the skin and some sores and whatnot, but they took their little shavers and they got all the mats off the dog and bathed the dog and showed him love, or her love. It's a boy. And began to rehabilitate this animal. And it's quite a marked change. I mean, this is the same dog that I just showed you that had the mats all over its face. And, there's a dog under there. And I was thinking about Linus and the story of Henry, which I had shared when we rescued him 6 years ago. We lost Henry last year, but I mean, after we rescued him, he had a really good life. And I was reminded of another story about a dog that had been abandoned or was, found on the street. And again, hang in there with me. I know this isn't exactly a touchy-feely moment here. But the dog was completely foreign to human touch. And so somehow they scooped the dog up and they brought it into some sort of a rescue facility. And when they would reach down to touch the dog would scream. Terrified, just terrified. Which means what? It had either never been touched or it had been abused. The only hand it had seen had been one of pain, something to be feared. And so someone would reach down and try to touch, and the dog would scream, shaking, terrified, eyes wild. And this person slowly began to introduce the dog to what it's like to be around a person. They'd sat in the room a few feet, just sat. So the dog would see that, they're not coming for me. And then they would scoot a little closer. And then the next time they brought treats or something, I'm doing this from memory. And they put treats and didn't actually try to hand feed, but put the treats down on the ground. And then maybe put them a little bit further, closer to them. And then, at some point the dog begins to expect that, okay, this hand brings goodness, brings treats. And then the treat goes in the hand. And the dog eventually takes the hand. And then you do that for a while, and then you reach over and you touch it on the nose, and it realizes you're not going to strike it, you're not going to cause it pain. And then you begin to stroke the fur and the neck, and the dog slowly begins to integrate. The walls slowly start to come down. The terror is subsiding. And then at one point, you're sitting on the ground, and maybe weeks have passed, and you've been going through this exercise a little bit every single day. And you're scratching sort of on the dog around the shoulder, and then the dog sort of flips over on its back and puts its legs in the air, its paws up in the air, and surrenders the tummy, right? All the dogs. Linus, I'm telling you, when he's in a good place, you start to scratch him on the back or the side, and he flips over on his back, and he throws his feet up in the air, and he's like, Tommy, now's the time. So I just picture that in my mind, that moment where it's okay to be vulnerable. And you just demonstrate safety and security and love and affection. And you see the walls start to slowly come down. You stair-step them into a point where maybe they can trust again. And without making too much of a leap, I was struck by how that relates to all of us. We know that there are people in this world who have seen the hand and been afraid. Whether physically or emotionally, they have only known neglect or abuse. And that framed how they saw the world, right? Eyes wild, timid, shaking, fearful, disconnected, abandoned. I don't know. We know that that happens to our fellow human beings all the time. And we crave the opportunities where we can sit next to them and try to create an environment where they will not be afraid. You know, there's no reason to be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. I genuinely care about what happens to you. You know, it's okay. You can be in my presence and it's going to be all right. And I'm going to try to help meet whatever need you've got as a friend. And then maybe they come to the point where, you know, physical touch, they realize what it's like not to fear the hand, but to be able to receive a gesture of genuine affection. And over the course of time, and hell, for some people it might take a few days, other people it might take most of the rest of their lives if they ever get there at all, but maybe they come to a point where they feel like they can be vulnerable again. When I see you walk in the room, I know it's going to be all right. I know I know you're not going to hurt me. And I look forward to seeing you. And I look forward to us being in the same space, you know, sharing the moments. I know it sounds melodramatic, but I was just thinking about, you know, it doesn't take very many cruel people in this world to make the world feel like a terrible place. And the agents of destruction and pain and abuse and chaos can do so much harm. What they do ripples out often to such a degree. Ripples through families, it goes into children, it hits neighbors and coworkers and total strangers. It just sometimes makes it feel like there's nothing but a white noise of awfulness out there. I've given up on humanity because people are awful. Well, maybe more people are good than we realize, but the people who are awful sure can do a lot of damage. And so here you and I are, and we do our best in the instances that present themselves to us to try to remind the wounded that not all people are bad. The people who locked you in the cage, the people who neglected you and allowed you to live in this way, and who raised a hand to you, who beat you and made you feel like you were nothing and used you for their own gain. Those people exist. They are not me. And there are a lot of people like me out there. When we see the rescue, right, there were two people who are now in jail, and I hope they stay there for a long time. The two people who created so much suffering. But vans of people showed up to rescue. Vans full of people. A whole community became aware of it. It goes online and they get donations from all across the city and all around the country. People say, I'm going to fix this. How do we help? What can we do? Can I donate some supplies or food or toys or medicines? Or do they need adoption? Can I help relocate? Whatever. Exponentially more goodness than there is awfulness. Yeah, two people caused a whole lot of suffering, but you know, my heart lies with the vans of people who showed up to fix it. And so as I'm scrolling my social media feeds and I see the the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst, and I start to become really despondent. In those days, in the year 2020, they're everywhere. We feel like, I quit. We're circling the drain. Screw it. Why bother? I think we have to remind each other. I want to remind you that there are lots of good people that want to show up and rescue. And I think you're probably one of them. And so we need to do our best to try not to let despair overtake us and cause us to surrender. We have to try to will ourselves through this, this tremendous heartache. And I'm trying to think of whatever the word is. You feel like it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. It does. We can't change the world, but you can change the world for an individual or a few individuals. It sounds like a bumper sticker, and it is, but it's also absolutely true. A little love, a little compassion, a little time, a little patience, some generosity, some charity, some touch, reminding other people that, not everybody in this world is as awful as you may fear they are, and that goodness prevails and exists. And if you'll just take the time, I will prove to you that goodness is still out and part of the human experience. I don't know if does that feel like a stretch to you? I think that washes. And I think for every person that wants to hurt you, there are other people, many more, who want to help. For every person who hates you, there are others who want to love. For every person who rejects you, I think there are many others who will accept you and love you and support you and validate you. The awful people, they make the news. The awful people, they can ripple out and really do a whole lot of damage. That's just a reality that is never going to go away. But for every person who's an agent of pain and destruction and abuse and chaos, there are so many more who will step up and stand up and walk in, often into harm's way, to demonstrate love, compassion, goodness, sacrifice, charity, humanity. Anybody need to hear that today? That helped you at all? That's what I'll leave you with. So I'll keep kicking if you will out there. Be safe. I'll see you later.